Welcome to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you burn fat, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie Potts, and I'm excited to have my friend Mary Roberts on my show today, the Low Carb Athlete, to talk about the Ketovangelist program, her background, her story, her why, and talk about the Ketovangelist coaching program and her passion and her purpose. As I know, we all have stories, we have struggles, and we have a purpose. And Mary found her purpose struggling with her relationship with food, overeating, binging, sugar food addictions, obesity, and she's come a long way. And I'm excited to finally dive into her story and share her struggles and her successes, and now focusing her energy and motivation to help others heal and rebuild with a keto lifestyle. And I met Mary almost a year ago, last May, on Jimmy Moore's low carb cruise. And I just fell in love with this group of girls, the Ketovangelist coaches, and really connected with them because I think we all have our struggles and our history with food because we were taught wrong. We were taught to eat breakfast is the most important meal of the day. We were taught to eat 3 meals a day and snacks in between to keep our metabolism going. We were taught the food pyramid, avoid fat, have as many carbohydrates as you want. And that led us, most of us, down this blood sugar roller coaster, relationships with food, and I think a lot of it is addictions to food because we were never satisfied. I lived eating this high carb, non-fat diet, and I didn't like animal meat, so I didn't really eat meat. A lot of fake meat, soy and based type of vegetarian meat, and it's didn't do me a lot of good, as well as other people. Leads to a lot of health issues, as we have essential fatty acids we need and essential amino acids. And as people keep saying, there's not any essential carbohydrate because we can make glucose as needed through gluconeogenesis. But I wanted Mary to come on and share her story because she is inspirational. She's very passionate, and she really has done amazing work at helping other people navigate their own ketogenic way of eating and overcoming their dysfunctional relationship with food, because this individual needs and lifestyle habits in our foods, it's not one size fits all. So she helps people figure out their journey and using her own background and experience to help others with using keto to help save their life. And now she wants other people to know they don't have to suffer. As I always say, the struggle is real. And Mary's been following a ketogenic diet lifestyle for 6 years. And amazingly, she lost 106 pounds. She reversed her type 2 diabetes, healed her high blood pressure, no longer has asthma and allergies. She no longer snores or has sleep apnea. The ketogenic lifestyle has helped heal almost all of her psoriasis, and she's only been sick with a cold one time last 5 years as she's been following a ketogenic diet. In addition to overcoming all of her own health issues, she's overcome a lifetime of binge eating, sugar and food addiction, and obesity. So you can find Mary. I'll put all the links in the show notes if you look on your podcast app you're using, and you can find her at Ketovangelist Coaching, and they have different groups. So if you deal with, disordered body image and addicted to food, sugar, if you overeat, she can help you get through that. And Mary and I, talked a long time today, so it's a little longer podcast as I seem to be doing lately. But I wanted to get this out to you now as we're all having these challenges, all of us around the world, of being isolated at home and trying to stay away from social interaction. And we have this new schedule and this new kind of home-based lifestyle. And I think a lot of people are fearful of gaining weight, and it's funny because I don't really know why people feel like they're at home more, that it ends up being more time eating and overeating and eating because you're bored, and more time watching TV and catching up on these episodes on Netflix or whatever you watch. It doesn't have to be that way. So what I'm trying to get across to everyone as I try to podcast more during the week right now is, yes, we're all in this together. The struggle is real, but it's a choice on how you live your life each day right now and having purpose. And I'm putting everything on tips on my low carb athlete Facebook page and Instagram, but more on my Facebook page because it's easier to put videos and articles and fitness tips and nutrition tips, but really work on, the holistic method, work on that nutrition, the exercise, the sleep is so important right now, and getting stress under control, finding happiness and joy in each day, working on getting outside, getting more movement, getting 10,000 steps a day, but staying 10 feet away from anybody else, except for your household family members. And then working on digestion and gut health right now. It's really important because 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So I really want you to take advantage of this time that you're home to take care of your health and your wellness, as well as drinking more water, filtered water during the day, maybe putting some sea salt in it, helping support your adrenals, your HPA axis system, having some good supplementation to deal with the stress and supporting that immune system with Microbiome Labs, Megaspore Biotic, having your vitamin C and your zinc, your vitamin D, your vitamin A, taking all this stuff everyone's suggesting is important, but it's also your lifestyle habits, the sleep and the stress and the exercise and nutrition that's so important as well. So the holistic method are these 8 elements, with that last one being happiness. And that's so important right now to really do self-care, but also finding ways to laugh and smile each day. I try to post on my Instagram and Facebook these happy, positive posts because it's challenging right now. And for me, that's my way to bring joy, to make someone else smile and laugh as it's scary, stressful. We don't know what's going to happen in our world right now. And our country seems to be messed up with a president that doesn't know what he's doing. And, our states are all individualized and everyone is kind of fighting for themselves. So I think we need to take ownership for what we do for our own health and really be a role model to someone else. A lot of these people, as Mary and I talk about, aren't taking care of themselves. We're the minority. So if you are taking care of the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method already, what can you do to help your network, your community to be healthier during this time that is essential to have a strong immune system? And that's what you eat, avoiding the processed dead food, avoiding the sugar and the garbage people are stocking up at the grocery store. It's really the time to get nutrient dense whole foods to get the nutrition from that food, as well as supplements that help get everything we need to help fight this disease. And of course, washing your hands and staying away from people and watching the surfaces you touch and the air you breathe. But what we eat right now, how you sleep, getting outside, not staying hibernated, go outside and get some daylight 3 times a day. I'm trying to get out for a walk, even if it's 5 minutes around the block. There's a lot of things we need to do to take care of ourselves. I've been writing in my gratitude journal at night. And my goal this week, and I challenge you to reach out to someone on FaceTime or Zoom, do a video call and have social interaction with your friends, with your family members, with your coworkers, whatever makes you happy. I think this is just week 2 of probably 6 weeks of being away from your community, your network in person. And so finding this new normal of communicating via video is odd, but I think you really need to stay healthy, and that includes community, social interaction. So you look at the blue zone studies of people that live to 100 years old, part of that was community, and we're lacking that right now, and I just FaceTimed a friend yesterday, and I just smiled. We laughed and, said this is our new thing. It's Neil's birthday next Sunday, and I'm going to organize his birthday party on Zoom. So, we have to work with what we have and make the best of it and try to get through this together as the world is connected. So let me stop blabbing and bring on Mary Roberts to talk about how you can take care of the whole you with a keto lifestyle. And hopefully her story can inspire you to take care of your choices of food that you're eating, especially now as you feel perhaps a little more challenged of staying healthy and not getting psycho crazy about over exercising and poor recovery. And I think eating, intermittent fasting, and listening to your body is really important right now. So we're going to talk more about food addiction and disordered eating, and learning what Mary's done to help others. So go to my website to learn more, debbiepotts.net, and I'll put everything in the show notes. So enjoy our conversation today. Hey everybody, I'm excited to have my friend Mary finally on my show, The Low Carb Athlete, to talk about her story, Ketovangelist, and talk about keto coaching and just everything around how to really stay healthy right now during this crazy time in the world, and really talking about our relationship with food, how we're eating, when we're eating, what we're eating. I always talk about, but the importance of why. So I'm excited to have Mary on the show because we've been talking about this for a year almost now since we're on the low carb cruise last May. So Mary, thanks for coming on. And we're working from our home offices, which is normal for you, but just having this new routine now. So what's going on in your world?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I have been looking forward to it for a while. I know we've been talking about it a while, and I was just thinking, I'm like, wow, it was a year ago that we met on the cruise, and I'm really hoping that this year is still going to happen, but it's not looking good right now.
Not in May.
Yeah, and I was actually supposed to be leaving on a cruise this weekend for our Ketovangelist coaching. We were having our first Cruising with the Coaches event. And so of course that got canceled. So lots of, weird things going on right now, but, we were just talking before we were recording. I work from home anyway. I haven't experienced like a whole lot of change, but the conversation with my clients has changed a little bit, because most of them, their routines are, their routines have changed and been upset. And some are struggling with, I work with mostly people who have eating disorders. They're compulsive eaters. They use food for soothing. And, part of what they, besides learning how to navigate a keto lifestyle, part of what they work with me on is changing that dysfunctional relationship with food. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of those, this is one of those times where, a lot of people are in what we call an extremely stressful situation. These are extreme times of stress. And a lot of people would describe themselves as emotional eaters. And so a lot of people are struggling with this, what's going on, being in their homes for the most part, not being at work, they're out of their normal routine. Mm-hmm. And so there's some people who in the world where this happens to, and they're so stressed that they can't eat. But then there are those of us who have eating disorders, or who are, compulsive overeaters, binge eaters, that this is like a very challenging time because the eating disorder habits call out to it, like, here, this is the ideal time to eat, but really it's not. Like, this, what's going on right now in our world, this is the worst possible time for you to go back to old habits. I know you're in the, you're into the health coaching realm. You are helping people with their health. And so I would imagine that your frustration is probably similar to mine. My biggest frustration with what's going on right now is I wish that people were as passionate about their health 24/7 as they have been these last couple weeks. They're suddenly afraid of getting sick.
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Why aren't you doing this?
I was listening to the other day, but the statistic was only 17.5% of the American population is metabolically healthy.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Like that has proper, like everybody else is like messed up on some level when it comes to their health. And I would like to see people be this concerned about being pre-diabetic, diabetic, having heart disease. Like we should be, relentlessly trying to avoid those things the way we're trying to avoid this virus.
Yeah. Well, I just did a 30-minute Real Thoughts with Debbie Potts podcast episode, just me talking for 30 minutes about the same thing. It's like, why don't we do this all the time? And I think part of that, if our listeners are the fit, well, they think they're fit. I just recorded about how you're fit and often unhealthy on the inside because people don't know. And as an FDN practitioner, that's what we're all about. Chronic stress, external, but the hidden internal ones, you have no idea about. They're contributing to total gut dysfunction, dysbiosis, all these issues that are impacting your immune health. So people think they're fit and healthy because they're exercising or doing keto, but they could be having, like I just found out I still have H. pylori or, some type of bacteria or parasite infection. So really taking care of the whole you is what I keep talking about. But now it's, I've been doing that for, 10 years. And so it is frustrating. And I think the other challenge, though, people out there that are not following the isolation rules around here, at least in Seattle, think like, oh, it doesn't matter because I'm healthy. Well, those other people all around you that you're just talking about that are suddenly walking outside and trying to be healthy and improve their immune system, they're probably already sick and you don't know if they're carrying the virus or not. And so they're more susceptible. So that's why I think we have to stay away from people because majority, like you said, are not healthy on the inside and out.
Right. Yeah. So, I'm just hoping that that's one of the, maybe one of the changes that happens, like when we get past it, because this too shall pass.
Yeah.
That people will be more cognizant of their health and the decisions that they make and that they will, change their lifestyle. Well,
I think that's what, talk about your why, but I think that's, what we're doing as health coaches around the world should be, something everyone should be looking to and taking advantage of now because it should create more awareness. Like, all right, you're broken on the inside and out. And if you don't take control of these self-care choices that you make, you choose what you're going to eat. You're going to choose if you're going to walk outside or whatever, lifestyle habits. People just, it's so frustrating, obviously. But talk about your why, like how you got into focusing on being a keto coach and how you became focused on the niche of people fighting with emotional eating or eating disordered issues.
Well, I've had I always say this, it's like my first line. I have a lifelong dysfunctional relationship with food. It goes back to when I was a kid. It was my comfort, my entertainment, my reward. And, over the years, things never get better. Like when you have a disease, when you have an addiction, it doesn't get better. It always gets worse. It progresses. And so, I went on my first diet my freshman year of high school. And then, from that point on, I've been on and off diets my entire life. And I finally, my senior year in high school, I was hospitalized for bulimia. And then after high school, I married like a year and a half after I graduated from high school, had my first baby at 19. Like,
wow.
Life just, rapidly progressed that, I became a mother and, my weight just kept creeping up and then I would, find a diet, lose a little, but ultimately I found myself at 42 years old, obese at 260 pounds, type 2 diabetic, had high blood pressure. I had sleep apnea. I had psoriasis. I snored. I had asthma and allergies. I carried an inhaler from the age of 7 to the age of 42. I had all these health issues, and it just kept getting worse over the years. My binging became worse. Every time I tried to control it with a diet, I would fall off and then, gain the weight and then some. I always joke that I dieted my way up to 260 pounds, because when I look back, I wasn't like, when I went on that first diet in high school, I was overweight. But after that, after I lost the weight, I still didn't see myself as not fat. I mean, I look back at pictures in my life, and I think we've all done this, right? Especially women.
Yes.
I look back on, these pictures in my life, and I see clearly in these pictures, I was not fat.
Yeah.
But at that time, you couldn't tell me that. You couldn't tell me I was not fat, because I was like, I'm fat.
Yeah.
And so the disorder just like ran my brain, and I just, so I dieted my way up to 260 pounds, and I was familiar with low carb because a friend had introduced Atkins to me. And so I had done it a couple of times, and so when I was 42, I just had my 6-year keto anniversary. So March of 2014, I reached that like turning point, and I still don't know what it was, because, I've woken up many times over the years saying, today's the day, I'm going to get my act together. And it never was, but I did the same thing that day. And for whatever reason, it stuck. And I honestly believe the reason it stuck was because keto came into the picture. I had done, like, even Atkins couldn't help me, even though it was low carb. Because the problem with Atkins for me was that I wanted to quickly progress through the phases to get the carbs higher, and they didn't focus on ingredients. So I'm like, okay, what stage do I need to be to eat bread? I would try to like, cheat this is how we are, with eating disorders. We try to like cheat the system, find the shortcut, the loophole, all the stuff, right? So that was the problem for Atkins with me, and why it didn't work. And I would get stuck at like 40 pounds lost. I'd become frustrated, and then, I would do something that I would cheat because I was frustrated, and that was always the beginning of the end. So this time, March of 2014, I started Atkins, and about 4 days later, I was at Sunday school, and my friend, Brian Williamson, who's the Ketovangelist, he said, forget Atkins, do keto. And I was like, what's keto? Like, if he's telling me it's a high fat diet. And and so people that know Brian know he's funny. So when he told me it's a high fat diet, I started laughing. I'm like, really? Shut up. I'm like, I'm trying to lose weight, Brian. He's like, no, I'm serious. And like, it took me a minute to believe him. And he swore to me up and down that he was not joking. And I was like, okay. So I went home, and I, did what, I'm like a natural researcher. I went straight to Google. And at that time, there wasn't a whole lot. He had recommended the book, Keto Clarity. So I read that, and then, so anyway, but that day, like pretty much the next day, I was keto, paying attention to like keeping, at that time, actually, I was still doing like net carb. It was 20 net carbs, but things changed. I was on, I had this new word that I had never heard before. And honestly, I think that's why I was able to stick to it, because when I started consciously eating healthy fats, it changed everything for me. For the first time, I felt satisfied, satiated. I wasn't suffering from hunger like I was on every other diet I'd been on. I wasn't white knuckling it. I had issues in my brain as far as wanting to eat garbage and junk, because, I had this emotional attachment to food, but I didn't feel physically compelled. And so because I didn't feel the physical compulsion, I felt satisfied. I was really able to, I had the mental wherewithal to focus on why I was so screwed up with food. Mm. And so I started to work on that, and I started to, I know now, like, I always thought like I had this battle in my brain that was like, like you have like the devil on one shoulder, the angel on the other. I always thought it was me, like warring back and forth. And even in the beginning, I still thought it was that. And I fought back against that. And now, 6 years later, I know that voice that I was always battling with wasn't my voice, that it was the voice of sabotage. And but I learned to battle that and to talk back to it and shut it down. You know, when I was going through the grocery store and I would see like my favorite binge items that I would always buy, I would literally just say to that voice, no, that's diabetes, that's fat pants, that's high blood pressure, that's medication. I don't want those things. And that was really, helpful to me to fight back. And so, over the years, I've learned a lot about like why I turn to food, and I've been able to address that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like helping others, my friend Brian told me about keto. And then around that same time he had started, I didn't even know it at the time, but he had started a website and a podcast called Ketovangelist. And his first 15, 16 episodes or so was just him talking for like 15 minutes about keto, different stuff. And he had heard about it because his son had epilepsy. So that's how he ended up, becoming the Ketovangelist. And so he knew, lost a lot of weight. He knew like my 1 year mark was coming up, and he's like, hey, I'd like to interview you and talk to you on my podcast about your experience this year. And so on my 1 year keto anniversary, he interviewed me and I told my story for the first time. And after that posted, and after he published that and I put it online and I shared my story online, all of a sudden I got flooded with I was getting messages from like people I didn't know, like not just people on my friends list. Like I guess people on my friends list had shared. I got lots of responses from friends on Facebook, but then I guess they were sharing it. And we had already had our ketogenic success group by that time and shared it there. And I was just getting bombarded with messages. So I was helping people, answering questions like pretty much every day for, a year. And Brian said to me one time, he said, what do you think about becoming a coach? And, what about we do Ketovangelist coaching? And I was like, I don't want to do that. I was like, I feel bad for charging people. And that was my first response, is I feel bad for charging people. And he, I won't go into the details, but he gave me a lecture about all that. And explained to me why it's okay to charge people, and when you have something of value to offer and all that. So we got past that, and I've been coaching since March of 2016, and it's been a amazing experience. When I shared my story, it wasn't with any intention of going anywhere. I just wanted people to know, hey, look, if I could do this after, a lifetime of suffering, if I could do this, then you can too. I wanted people to know that they didn't have to suffer from hunger, that they could get free. And so that was the reason I shared my story. But working with people now has been the most, aside from motherhood, the most fulfilling job that I've ever had. And, there's been lots of opportunities to, people share, really deep, intimate things. And, I feel blessed that people, trust me with their story. And, it's just been amazing working with people and watching them have these, what I call light bulb moments, and having these victories that they were never able to have before either, because they were stuck in the disorder and they didn't know how to fight back. And most of us fail at diets because none of them are sustainable, which is kind of ironic, because the argument we hear about keto all the time is that, oh, it's not sustainable. It's the most sustainable thing I've ever done in my life. What's not sustainable is a 1,200 calorie a day, low fat, high carb diet. I couldn't stick to that. I was white knuckling my entire life and stuck in this cycle of white knuckling, binging.
Yeah.
I couldn't get off that roller coaster. So there was nothing sustainable about like the standard American diet and the traditional approaches and all the, approaches that, typical nutritionists try to use with people. And that's where, like, when I work with people, and Jessica and I run a food addiction and recovery group. Our group helps people because it's different in the fact that when you go through our program, you're not going to hear a false message. In the traditional eating disorder treatment community, there's a false message that you can be fixed and become a moderator. And that's just not true for people that are addicts. And food addiction is real. Sugar addiction is real. Nobody tells a alcoholic or drug addict when alcoholics and drug addicts go into rehab, when they show up there, nobody is like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn you into a Friday night only drinker. Nobody does that because they know it's not possible, because one drink is too many and 10 is not enough. It's the same thing with brownies for an addict. One is too many and 10 is not enough. There's like no end. So that's the problem with the traditional eating disorder programs, is they try to make people moderators, and people are either naturally a moderator or they're not. Anybody who has to try to moderate and white knuckle and think about it and really put a lot of effort into not eating more than one of something, they are not a moderator. Eventually they're going to go head first back down into a downward spiral of binging again. So, our program, we teach you acceptance. We talk about the steps to overcome the voice of sabotage. We talk about changing that relationship with food and how we view it and how we use it, and and we address other things that people typically don't think of, like how are our relationships affected? What about my self-worth and the way I eat myself? Like, how does that all tie into why and how I use food? And so, when you are eating the proper human diet, as Dr. Berry says, of healthy fats and very low carbohydrates, you have mental clarity. You have the mental wherewithal to get healthy, to do recovery. When you can't recover when you're still trying to incorporate your drug of choice.
Yeah. No, I mean, all your information is what I keep thinking about is being real. And what I've learned as a health coach and nutritional therapy and an FDN program, every coaching program, you learn just to share your story and be authentic. And then, as you said before, that people related to you, like, oh my gosh, that's someone else is going through that same thing and they overcame those obstacles, and the struggle is real, and it doesn't have to be, alone, and you can get help. And I think so many people think, all right, this is the way I am, I'm never going to get better, or this is the new normal, this is me, this is part of the aging process, whatever health issue it is. That's what I'm trying to get that out to people. This, for me, my side is chronic stress, how it impacts all of you. And, eating a high carb, sugary, processed food, crappy food diet is going to cause internal issues as well as obvious external issues. And, doing what you're doing, following your passion is, same with me. It's like we had our own experiences, and you feel like it's your passion to help other people now that we're like you, or, following your purpose. And I think becoming a coach is something you did. What were you doing before that? Were you working or just full-time?
I was a part-time English teacher at a private school.
So
and I'm a homeschool mom for 15 years now. And so I worked part-time at a private school teaching English and sometimes speech and debate. And then prior to that, I've always kind of been in sales. I was actually a Mary Kay sales director for many, many years. Had the free car and all that jazz.
You had the pink car?
Yeah, I had not the pink car. I never made it to the pink Cadillac, but I had the the first and second level cars. The Cadillac was like the top. But yeah, so I mean, and I always did stuff like that, like working at home. I've worked since I was 15 years old. So I've always like done something, but I left when I first started coaching, I was still doing the teaching and, I was doing both. And then I got so busy with coaching that I left the job at the school.
So you kind of self-educated yourself as a Ketovangelist coach, because there's not, back then, 5 years ago or so, there wasn't keto coaching programs as there are so more these days, but you did your own research.
And even now, like the keto coach certification programs, it's not like it's not overseen by any like governing body. Like it's people that, kind of big names in the community that have made these programs for people to go through. And I think, from everything I know about, like we have a couple of our coaches, like one of our coaches is like, she's an NTP. And she's of course learned tons of things, but like, she will say that the way, as far as keto is concerned, like she wasn't taught how to be a keto coach in the NTP program, like it's this like outlying thing, like nobody's teaching, keto. I'm currently going through the nutrition, the certified nutrition certification through NASM. It's not going to make my coaching style any different.
Isn't that total old school information?
That's going to be useful so far. I hate to say that, but like there's a whole chapter where they're even like talking about keto, and it's like one of those like I face palmed my way through the whole thing. And there's so much, just the traditional standard American lines in this program that it's not, at the end of it, I'm going to be able to say I'm a certified nutrition coach, and it's going to be nothing. Yeah. Because
the diet nutrition book from NASM that you're doing, is it the
NASM? I'm doing that and the personal trainer certificate. I tried to do when I started, I was trying to do like both at once.
No,
I was overwhelmed with my schedule and everything. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the nutrition first, and when I finish that, I'll go back to the personal training.
Because I started to do their nutrition 1 year ago, just to, I hate having to have certifications, but just because of that, because it's like you have to have a title by your name to be official. Like, you can't be a keto coach unless you're certified, and there isn't anything, as you said. But the funny thing, I started to read that book, and the one I had, it was like 10 years ago, but I couldn't read it. So I didn't even do the program. I paid for it. I'm like, this is a bunch of BS. Nothing against NASM, but back then it was still political nutrition with the food pyramid, all those crap stuff. I'm like, I cannot even read this. But, I think Professor Noakes, Tim Noakes, he has the Noakes Foundation. They've done a great job of trying to get organization, I think, to the coaches out there to give us type of certification and credentials. And Low Carb USA, they promote through
Maria Emmerich has a program, Dr. Berg has there's lots of people out there with great resources and listened to a million podcasts, I've read all the books, I've done but mostly what I've learned is like through my own personal experience and like on the job, like there were certain things like I worked through with my clients, figuring stuff out. And now, of course, 4 years later, I have this whole big toolbox and, hundreds and hundreds of clients' experiences and, my dog. And I still, learn every day. And honestly, I think there's always going to be like a handful of people out there who they want somebody with like lots of letters behind their name. But the way I personally feel is, like I work with a coach for me too. And that my coach does not have any type of credentials, but he knows his stuff and he has the experience. And I'm more interested in people who have a real life experience, because I have been failed most of my life with the credentialed people, the diabetic nutritionist when I was diagnosed with diabetes, my doctor, and the crazy stuff that I was told, like none of them helped me.
Mm-hmm.
They failed me. So I don't have a whole lot of confidence in that. I mean, I love that the community, that our space has like a lot of great people, and more, doctors and professionals are coming out and, and advocating for keto. I think that's great. But I think like as a whole, it's way behind.
Oh, yeah. And that's what my point is, that you don't necessarily have to have a degree. That's her dog in the background. Is your dog burping or
Sneezing or something?
He's sneezing. Dog's having GI issues.
He's old.
So, but the point is, I'm trying to make that it's to find a health coach. It's not necessarily what your credentials are. Before I start with a client, I set up a consultation and kind of interview me, interview them to see if we're a good fit and we relate, because your experience is from your own life and then helping other people. You learn that. No program is going to help you necessarily know that intuitive nature to talk to people. And so I think when people are looking for a coach, Ketovangelist is great coaches, and, whoever you go see, but you have to make sure, do you connect with them? Do they listen to you? All those different skills. It doesn't mean you have a registered dietitian, sports nutrition degree. It's a lot of it, as you're relating with people with emotional eating disorders, relationships with food. That's not necessarily need a therapist either. It's just being real and talking and figuring it out and helping, as I do as a health detective, the root causes. What are your triggers? What sets you off? And learning that. But that's not something we learn in any program necessarily. You might get some tips, but it's just who you are. And that's kind of your innate intelligence and finding your skill, your passion, your purpose to help evolve into the coach that you are today.
Right. Absolutely.
So another thing, is people working on bioindividuality and working on their own needs. There's not one size fits all approach. And that's why I really recommend coaches as yourselves, or, health coaching on my side of it, but working on, everyone wants, you read these posts that just drive me nuts in those keto groups, but like exact amount of everything, like how many carbs and how much protein, and they want numbers, and having this net carb versus, dirty keto versus clean keto, and you're working with more people with the eating disorder, but isn't it? I mean, you're just trying to work the system. Yeah. And you see people doing, that like Coffee Mate, full of crap. Read but
it's only 1 carb per serving.
So many people would post those pictures. Like, did you not look at the ingredients? It's a bunch of chemicals. Yeah. And so what's your take on that when you're coaching people, or you're trying to, help people that are following your groups and in individual coaching, and people with emotional eating, they want a diet and they're not looking at lifestyle and sustainability.
So in the Ketovangelist groups, we have very, very tight rules, and guidelines. Like because we don't want our group to be, have 50 different perspectives. Like a lot of groups out there, they just allow anything goes. And we are really focused on health. And so the people that stick around our groups understand and appreciate that, because it's, health first and foremost. And our philosophy is that if you fix the health issue, the weight loss is a side effect. You're going to lose
yes.
weight. And, and also like with coaching clients, I tell people, if some people, you're right, and more so in the beginning. Now, most people that come to me, they come to me because they feel enslaved by food, and they are hoping that I can, give them the magic answer to get them free. Right. Mm. But a lot of them are, there are people who still think, like that what their problem is they just haven't found the perfect macros, or they're following what I call like an internet version of keto rather than a true, clean, real food keto protocol. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I ask for with a new client is if they've been tracking, or even if they haven't been tracking, I want to know, tell me what you eat and don't leave anything out. Do you chew gum? I want to know everything that goes into your mouth. You tell me. And usually within 5 minutes, like when I read their logs, I can see several issues and problems. And it's because they're following the Pinterest version of keto, or like a bunch of keto groups that anything goes. They don't care about ingredients.
Keto for Beginners group has the worst advice ever.
I don't, there's so many. And yeah, every time like I go outside my bubble, my Ketovangelist bubble, I regret it. I'm like, why am I here? Because there is just phenomenally terrible advice out there. And honestly, I mean, Instagram also, there's a lot of big influencers with, hundreds of thousands of followers that give like advice that just makes me cringe, because they think that everybody is the same, or they have their paradigm, like they can't see past their paradigm that, well, this is what I did and this is what and I can eat one brownie and walk away, so everybody should be able to do that. And it makes me crazy because they don't acknowledge the fact, and then there's outright deniers of, people that deny that food addiction and sugar addiction is real. And so that's frustrating. So there's this whole plethora of bad advice out there. And, that's kind of like difficult to overcome sometimes. But when I work with people, I focus on, I focus on what do you want to change? And when people tell me they want to lose weight, I want to know their story. Like, okay, so how did you get to this point where you want to lose weight? Tell me about your relationship with food. I mean, so many people don't even realize that they have an eating disorder. They wouldn't say they're dysfunctional with food. They would say, I just like sweets too much. They don't know that it's a real issue. They think they have no willpower, no discipline, that they just can't, a lot of women, especially, they're like, I don't understand, I have, a very successful career. My home is in order, but I can't seem to like nail down this food thing. And it's very typical of, people with eating disorders. Like they have a lot of other areas in their life where they're disciplined and ordered and successful, but they can't seem to get that with the food. And it's because they have the wrong beliefs about food and how it should be used. And that's, society has trained us, like we're pretty much all of us are a perfect example of how we're all dysfunctional with food on some level is meal times.
Yeah.
Restaurant at 8, noon, or 5 or 6, it's going to be packed. And do we really think that thousands of people are hungry at the same time? No, they are trained to show up and eat at this time. Society has done that to us. Nobody knows, like hardly anybody knows when they're really hungry.
I know. Did you see the other week I posted, I was at the airport. I had 2 weekends in a row on Friday, 6 a.m. flight. I'm at the airport at 4:30 in the morning. I'm watching people eat breakfast. I'm like, are you normally, I'm up that early every day. So it's normal for me. And I don't have breakfast until lunch. But, it's funny. I'm like, are you guys even hungry? And I'm looking around at all these people at the airport, like, are you eating because you're scared you're going to starve on your flight and you just don't know what to do with yourself before your flight? I mean, it's amazing.
Strike.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think. The whole breakfast, lunch, dinner scheduled time is always a thing to me. It's like, do you really need to eat because it's, 8 a.m. you're going to work, you have to eat. And I think we get programmed as part of the problem, as you said, with not just our political nutrition guidelines, but also the breakfast, lunch, dinner, and you have to have snack. And I wrote this in my
breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And like people think they need to gag down food when they're not hungry because they'll die or pass out or something. If they
exactly. I know. But then also that you have to keep eating because you have to keep your metabolism going. And I realized that like 20 years ago when I went down this way that like, wait a minute, how am I ever supposed to burn fat if I'm supposed to eat every 2 hours? It makes no sense. If people stop and go, look at the logic. No way.
Yeah, we're definitely brainwashed with lots of nutritional dogma.
I know. But so what have you, I know you've changed a lot into exercise, and as I call the holistic methods, 8 elements to take care of the whole you. So we talk about nutrition and exercise, sleep, stress, movement, and digestion, gut health. And number 7 is hydration. The 8th element is happiness and gratitude. So what are some things you've started to add in more? Because I always talk about nutrition as you do, coaching the why, your root causes and triggers, red flags. But what are you doing that for your own self, as your own personal journey? You switched to keto and helped repair a lot of your health imbalances, and signs and symptoms have gone away. So what else have you been doing?
So about 5 months into my keto journey, I started exercising. I waited because my history with dieting and exercise was I would always attempt to do exercise that was beyond my ability. I would go try to do these things that are extremely difficult to do at 260 pounds. Mm-hmm. And of course, either I would finish and really had a real fear of like dying of a heart attack at the end, or I would bail out early. Like, I would go to these classes, and as soon as the teacher turned her back, I'd like bail out of the room because I was exhausted and couldn't finish. So I purposely waited. So when I had got off about 40-ish, between 40 and 50 pounds, I started exercising at home, and I did that for a few months. And then I finally joined the gym because my dogs would harass me when I was trying to exercise at home. They did not like me getting down on the floor. And so I joined the gym, and then I was one of those, I didn't know what I was doing when I got there. Of course, I went straight for the treadmill and the elliptical. I thought like, that's what I should do to, lose weight. But then I saw the machines. I saw people doing the machines, and I started learning more, and I would see online, women and weightlifting and all that. And so I gradually like leaned that way, and I finally made my way into the weight room, and then I dumped cardio for the most part. I still do a little bit, but I focused more on lifting weights because I learned a lot about like what it would do for me, and in particular my metabolic, situation, that it would help improve my insulin sensitivity, that I would, gain muscle, and that it would do everything good for me. So that's, what I did. And so I've been working out over 5 years now. And, right now the challenge being back at home, I'm like, oh, like that's just one of the, I mostly have not been inconvenienced by what's happening because I already work at home and I'm a homeschooler and all that. But, my gym being closed has been a little challenging. So I'm working out at home, and quickly reminded, like with the dog, I'm laying on the floor to do something, and my dog is right in my face. Like,
I have a doggy gate.
Now why I joined the gym.
Yeah. Well, I think exercise, for one, is so essential. And I think people need to work with nutrition first. But as you found, and what you coach people to, I'm sure, is, work on that. Because I've said, because I've been personal training for 25 plus years, that you can't out exercise a bad diet and lifestyle habits. And that's kind of led me the last 10 years becoming more the health coaching side of it, because I was getting, tired of not being able to help people because they would just come see me twice a week. It's like, no, you're not sleeping, you're eating late at night, you're not eating the right foods, you're stressed out all day long. It's like, I'm wasting your time and my time training you. And so that's kind of evolved me to the holistic method and being a health coach. But it's really important part is once you're kind of build that foundation up with exercise and start, lifting weights and doing strength exercises. And I think a lot of people, especially my listeners, might be more endurance athletes, but that's not good for you either. So it's just the Goldilocks effect with everything, and less is more sometimes, more is not better. So doing 2 hours on the cardio machines and doing the treadmill elliptical, I have a lot of people that do that. I'm like, no, 20, 30 minutes, if that, go outside and get your movement. Don't do that in the gym, and go do strength work. And you can do it at home for now, but right now, we have to find new ways to exercise. But ideally, when we are able to go to the gym, lifting weights and working on that, because that's the catabolic versus anabolic imbalances we get with the, hormone imbalances that we all have. And as females, we need to lift more weights and help those hormones as well as we get through the aging process. It's so important. So I love seeing your posts on Instagram. You're really good at selfies. I hate doing all my work. I don't take my phone to the gym, so I never take pictures of myself, but you're such a good inspiration of kind of showing, here's what I do, because I'm trying to do that too. But I think you have to practice what you preach and walk the walk and walk the talk, and show that what you're doing, because then you're an inspiration to others and your clients and your followers. So it's great to take care of the whole you.
Yeah. And the only reason I share my workouts on Instagram, I am like by no means like, I'm not a fitness professional. I am going to get my certified training certification. I don't know if I'll ever do anything with it, but I mostly share because I want other women to see, look, I'm 48. I'm getting out there and I'm doing, here's what I'm doing. I'm self-taught. I've had a couple trainers, and I did what a lot of people do. I pulled up YouTube to learn form. I just did my research and got out there and did it. And so I share like, okay, here's what I did today. You don't have to sit back on the sidelines and like keep watching. Just get out there and do something. It doesn't matter. Like I don't know why so many women think like if they're over 40 that they can't, I don't know, that they can improve. Like we see questions online all the time. Has anybody over 40 done this diet? Does anybody over 40 lifting weights? I'm like, hell,
that's when you need to do it.
Like, yes, it's never too late.
Well, I've been studying more hormones, and especially women premenopause and postmenopausal. That's especially when you need to lift weights and add more protein and take, Dr. Stacy Sims' book. I've been podcasting about 5 to 7 grams of branched chain amino acids before and after your workout, and 2 other times a day for some women menopausal, and have a higher protein, low carb diet. And because we become more carb sensitive as we get older and we can't do fruit. And so it's like, okay, isn't this kind of low carb keto diet, keto carnivore? But, you don't want to put a label on things. For a lot of people, just want to know, okay, how to improve the aging process. And lifting weights and getting stronger is something we especially need to do as we age, not waste time on the elliptical machines and the treadmill. It's like, okay, I always tell people, look around. I look at all the people when I'm at the gym working out on the weights, free weights and cables and stuff. And then I look at the people on the machines. There's a difference in the body types.
Absolutely there is. Yeah.
I see this lady is great. You're there every day, but are you changing? Are you doing anything to your body? Are you getting stronger? Are you getting, progressing in your goals? But I guess, showing up, I always say, well, at least they're here. That's what counts. You're doing something.
Yeah, it is. And it's great to see people, but I've definitely had that experience at the gym watching people. Like, I've been in the gym 5 years, and there are people that are they're there every day, and they don't look any different than they did 5 years ago. They're just like spinning their wheels, like thinking that someday that hour and a half on the elliptical or the bike or the treadmill is going to do something. But the real problem is diet. And so many people think, and I can't remember where I heard it, but several people have said it, but that if you need to exercise to maintain your weight, that your diet is still wrong. Like you should be able to maintain.
I say that all the time.
Your diet. Like if right now I couldn't work out at like, there's a lot of people worried they're going to gain weight right now because they can't go to their gym and they don't have stuff to work out at home. And, I'm afraid of gaining weight. I'm not afraid of gaining weight. Like, even if I didn't work out until my gym reopened, I don't think I would gain weight. And I think that's important for people to realize, that it's diet.
Well, we're running out of time, but let's finish up with that, because I think those are great topics to finish with. As we are not able to go to the gym, people have this fear of gaining 20, 30 pounds. Because I'm saying it's not 2 weeks hibernation. We're going to be here through April. I guarantee you, not being able to go to the gyms and not being able to do our normal routine. So our new normal is going to be taking care of the whole person. And what I'm doing is creating this 5-day wellness program online that I'll meet with people 30-minute a day, doing a workout, and then getting them to go walk every day, 30 minutes, unless they have, I don't think the lockdown, you're just supposed to have 10 feet apart. You can still go outside in your own neighborhood, but people are like, oh, I can't even leave my house. Like, I think you can still go outside.
My grocery store, the Lines has these like placard things on the ground, like for each person to stand, like, so we're not all like crammed together.
I saw pictures of someone like their grocery carts were in between them so they didn't go in. So, but anyways, the tips that you and I would give people to help them not gain weight, how to stay healthy, and really what I keep trying to do, and I'm podcasting every day this next few weeks, is how to improve your immune system, which is 80% in your gut. So gut health, proper digestion starts with what we eat. It starts north in nutritional therapy, talking about how you eat, when you eat, what you're eating, and why. So, eating when you're hungry. I think you can still do intermittent fasting, 16 hours, 8-hour eating window. Everyone can do.
Yep.
Maybe you have to start with 12 hours, but eating good, healthy, clean foods.
Yep.
And, I'm a bio-individual person, but most people do best just eating more protein and healthy fats. And, I do athletic greens during the week, and I'm not a big, I used to be only eating salads, but now since I met you girls and my keto family, I've been doing more of the butcher box. We've got 3 deliveries this month, and weekdays, I just end up having one meal mid-afternoon. I don't have kids, so I don't have to sit down and have dinner at 6 o'clock, but I eat when I'm hungry.
Yep.
And little more middle of the day, I end up having, if it's grass-fed burger or a steak or something, and then I put some butter on it, something. But what about you? I find, this is a great opportunity to take care of myself, going for walks. I never walk at home. It's like, oh, what can you do to not gain weight? What's your plan?
Yeah. So, I'm just going to keep doing what I always do. I typically eat twice a day. I do follow a fasting routine, most days, 16 hours, sometimes longer, just depends on my client schedule and what I have going on. And then I've also started twice a week doing a 36 to 40 hour fast twice a week. And I started that because you were talking earlier about the whole 48, I'm perimenopause, I've got things going on. So I'm doing the fast. I upped my fasting game to help with that. As always, I stick to keto. I have over 6 years food sobriety. I don't go off plan. I don't knowingly put anything harmful into my mouth. If we go out to eat, which we're not right now, but normally, going out to eat, I ask all the questions, and I just make the best decision I can with the information that I've got. And I tend to stick toward, to the places I know I can trust. But yeah, so I'm like, as far as like my clients right now, that their routine is upset. It's not like you can't leave your house. You can leave your house. You can go out in your neighborhood, go on a walk, or go on a jog. If you like to run, you can go running. You can get outside or go out in your backyard, get fresh air, get a little vitamin D, focus on eating real food. And I have a list of like no's that I typically tell my clients: no sweeteners, no nut butters, nut flours, no fruit because, it's sweet. So that kind of falls into the no sweeteners rule, no alcohol, and keep dairy really minimal, because I think a lot of people go crazy with cheese, and I think cheese can cause you to gain weight if you're eating 6 cheese sticks a day, and then you put cream, it's multiple sources of dairy, like heavy cream in the coffee, 6 cheese sticks, a slice of cheese on the bunless burger, it adds up. So those are like the typical things that I tell people.
Yeah, cheese and nuts. This is my thing. I gotta not have mixed nuts and cheese is something I'm like, I need to do the food sensitivity test. Just show me that's like do not eat list to make me not do cheese. But dairies and eggs too are often inflammatory foods for people. So taking out the inflammatory foods is, obviously gluten grains, the refined sugars, the vegetable oils is canola oil, the corn, the peanuts, the soy, but also dairy and eggs are a big thing for a lot of people. So, testing how you feel afterwards. You can do the Keto Mojo testing, see if your heart rate or your blood sugar goes up, but also you can do a heart rate test, see if your heart rate goes up higher after a specific food. But I think a lot of times people that do keto low carb, that they do way too much something that we don't have that 4-day rotation diet and don't mix it up. And it's like, I know my downfall is too much cheese, even though I will buy the goat cheese or, get raw cheese when I can, but that's always a go-to. But he's like, okay, I just put heavy cream in my coffee, and then I have my cheese on my burger, and then I'm having steak. Well, the steak I put butter, but
yeah,
you're
to add up.
You're doing more carnivore yourself, right?
I am mostly carnivore, but I do occasionally like a Cobb salad. And I do occasionally like, nut butters, but like specifically almond butter. But I, for the most part, avoid that now because my eating disorder, like when I eat almond butter, like I usually feel compelled to eat more, and then I have to use willpower to not eat more. So I try to just avoid it for the most part.
Yeah, your triggers.
Yes, you gotta know your triggers. But yeah, I mean, I think if we just focus on eating real food and getting, some movement, that, that can keep, you don't need to like completely dump everything you've been doing because of what's going on. I think it's sad. There are a lot of people doing that. I've seen lots of messages, posts online, people saying, I can't keep keto during this. I'm too stressed. My store doesn't have meat, my this, my that. And I think that it doesn't have to be that way. Like you can still make really good decisions. You can still stay keto. You can still exercise. It might not be your gym and the way you normally like it, but you can still do something else to keep your body moving and to stay active.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I know I could just keep talking because I love these topics. So I'll wrap it up today, but if we'll have you on the show again to dive into more topics. I think people need more support right now as we are going through this new lifestyle. And what the positive is, it brings the world together because every country, every city is going through the same thing. So I think the more we can help people create good, healthy choices, self-care, take ownership, and be able to have the right tools to make the right decisions, because, not buying a bunch of crap at the grocery store to stock up that you're not going to be able to go out of your house ever again isn't the answer. And
stop hoarding. There's no food shortage. That's what people are freaking out. I'm like, there's no food shortage. The trucks are showing up every day. Yeah. People are just clearing off the shelves because you're panicking. There's no food shortage. Yeah.
Toilet paper too. There'll be more toilet paper, but it's crazy that I look at people at the grocery store, what they're buying in their cart. I'm like, what? How's that? Even my parents, they bought Campbell's soup. I'm like, is that nourishing? It's a bunch of sodium in there. It's like, get real food, go. That's why I think Butcher Box is whatever service you get, but just have stocking up on frozen meat, animal source, grass-fed, wild caught fish, whatever you can is great because it's going to fill you up and be more satiating.
It's very nutrient dense.
Yeah, but I'm not doing the liver.
I love liver. I know I'm like odd woman out there. I do. I like it.
All right. I got to wrap it up, guys. I know we got to get back to our work. Thanks for playing and chatting with me today.
Thank you so much.
We'll give everyone your links. Want to send them with your website you want people to head to. I'll put them on the show notes.
Ketovangelistcoaching.com. And then on Instagram and Facebook, it's KetoMary71.
Yes. And your birthday's next year. My big birthday's too, 71. So next year, got to start planning for the big one. All right. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to the Low Carb Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at debbiepotts.net. You can help us to continue to grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.